Boom, boom, boom. Episode 545 is a very special episode. It's a celebration episode. We'll tell you all about that. We are your hosts, Jasper Rivers and Eric Muller. What's up, Eric? Are you ready to celebrate?
Yeah, dude. I'm good to go, man. Let's do it. You got the Legends X gear on. I got the Free Wild gear on.
Yeah, well, first of all, it was your birthday last week. I know your
That's right.
fiance reached out to me asking for some Free Wild branding, and now I see the result of that. Beautiful Free Wild sweater.
All right. Well, I didn't know she was doing that. That's awesome. We went to a getaway, which I think we should do we're going to do a whole podcast and a YouTube video on the experience up there and that company and their model, the whole thing, and how similar it's going to be to Free Wild model wise. But yeah, we were up there and she gifted me this sweater. So for everyone on Instagram, or not Instagram, but wherever you see videos, Free Wild logo. It was pretty cool, man. It's awesome to see this come to life and be on a shirt. And she also got me a really awesome hat as well with the logo. So yeah, I'm pumped, man. I'm going to be repping this, and we're going to actually be making some really awesome merch in the next month or so. Not for sale. It's going to be for our team and our guests and things like that. But I'm excited to get into that side, the e-commerce merch side of the brand. That's right. Different conversation to have.
For all the future wilders, we're going to walk around in our gear.
That's right. Yep. That's right.
Awesome, man. Well, good to know you had a good holiday celebration. We'll get more into that in the next few weeks. But today, what we want to celebrate is it's exactly 2 years ago that you and I sat down in San Diego, and we start working on Legends X.
That's crazy.
Can you believe
man.
That's sweet? 2 years ago that you and I started. I was looking through my history, and we recorded the first video right around 2 years ago.
Oh, really? Oh, interesting. Dude, that's so crazy. Isn't it? It's what amazes me, and I had this realization when Samantha gave me this sweatshirt to see Free Wild on a shirt. I know it's such a minor thing, but to have a vision as an entrepreneur, right? To have a vision, a thought of something you want to create, and then how fast it can come together. 2 years, I know you and I and the rest of the team have been busting our butts the last 2 years, building that accelerator and getting it to a point where it's at now. But 2 years is not a long time, right? It's not a long time as far as to see something come to fruition and come to life. And it's inspiring to see that. And it's inspiring to see the thing that we thought of that could work actually working at this level. It's pretty incredible. Getting the results that we're getting, and
yeah, it's awesome. And so we want to share today. We want to share some experiences, some results, what it's been like for us of leading almost 300 hosts through this program. But we've learned some success stories, and also a quick recap on why did we start the program. I know there's a lot of new people listening to the podcast, so if you're new, welcome. We appreciate you listening in. We've been around for a while, but there's always new people tuning in. So let's go back 2 years, right? We were both in San Diego, and I have to give you credit. You came up with the basic thought behind Legends X. So why don't you give a quick recap on what your thoughts were back then?
But yeah, man, I mean, the idea came from one of the scariest times in modern history, which was the COVID pandemic, right? It's we were sitting in that condo in San Diego planning out the Legends Mastermind and having these in-person mastermind events all around the country, all around the world. And we were all in on that while I was still in the management side, short-term rental side. And COVID came and just shut everything down. All the biggest companies we looked up to were shutting their doors within a month. And just everyone was just shutting down, and everybody was freaking out. And I remember us we had to move out of that condo, and I was homeless for a while. It wasn't bad. It just I didn't have a location. I was all right, we got to break this lease. We had no money, no income, and we realized for us to stay in business, we had to help other short-term rental hosts stay in business. And we had this amazing platform that we can do that with. And I just remember at that time, we were just like consulting for so many different companies, talking to so many companies, creating spaces like digital masterminds for just hosts to come together and talk about how do we actually stay in business and how do we thrive. And then I started recognizing a trend, like a common factor between all of the companies that were actually thriving and the companies that were essentially failing through that process. And what I recognized, when we boiled it down, and like, oh well, all the companies that are thriving right now, they have a very clear vision. Like they're very unique on who how they stand out from the crowd, who they serve as a guest, what their properties about, how they adjusted to this new challenge in the world was facing. They all these companies had real amazing people that worked for them. They had clear operations, and their business was ran like a machine. And then they were looking at COVID as an opportunity to grow their business, not an opportunity to shrink. When everybody else was shrinking, they were growing, they were expanding. And I just remember that was just like super inspiring. So I was looking back at, obviously, my journey in the short-term rental space and what I went through going from a hectic host into a real business owner. And I was just looking at all the systems we had and the processes and all of that. And I realized, I'm like, okay, this stuff will work and will help hosts now, but also in the future, it will help them scale real companies, right? So that's where the idea came from. It's like, how do we help people thrive now? And then how do we actually build real foundations to these companies, hospitality companies, to grow and not just focus on getting listings and making money? Like, those are great, but after a while, if you're just focused on money, of just like doing the whole list it and forget it thing, your business isn't going to grow. It's not going to, you may get it to a point where you're making some money, but eventually you will have to rely on removing yourself from it and focusing on real brand, focusing on real operations and real team members, having real marketing plans to scale your business. And I realize like the industry needs this stuff so freaking bad. So I'll leave it at that, because the delivery of like the 90 days, like, because like all that stuff took me personally years to develop in my short-term rental business. I know it took us a long time to really define that and really understand that. I know it took us years in my short-term rental business to figure out that VOS, I wasn't calling it the VOS at the time, but that platform, that foundation to grow. And then it took you and I a long time to really define that in a way that is digestible for the average host, that can implement into their business. So yeah, it's awesome to see where it's at right now, man. It's really cool.
Yeah, one of the things I'll never forget is that when we started a virtual mastermind right after COVID and everyone was freaking out, I remember one of our mastermind members told me that right now is the best time to acquire more management clients, because all the homeowners are freaking out, and now they're looking at like their managers and they're like, oh, well, you're not doing a good job because I'm not making a lot of money, so I'm going to look for somebody else. So it's interesting how the mindset can be, you can look at the opportunity or freak out.
Well, I think it's more the mindset than I'm not making money thing. I think it's more of the at that time, and what we're, we kind of tie to what's happening now with the mindset of B&B bust, right? Of like, I think people were dropping their companies and their managers, yes, because they weren't making much money, but two, and probably the most important, is the mindset that their manager had of the experience, right? Because if you're thinking that everything is on fire, everything is, it's like you can't see your way out of this mess that you're in, you're bringing that energy to your clients, you're bringing that energy to your work, and everyone's going to feel it. Everyone's going to, like, you're going to lose business if you don't believe in yourself, your team, or your product. We shared that on a podcast a couple of weeks ago, right? Of like few weeks ago of a major learning lesson from last year. So yeah, I think it's more of the mindset, and it's like we're seeing that now. We're seeing that now with people going through this whole mindset of like, oh, now it's a slightly difficult to like we all as hosts have to act as real business owners now. We got to figure out branding for our companies listings. We got to figure out marketing for our companies and listings. We got to figure out how to stand out from the crowd. We got to figure out how to sell our product. Like, this is business, right? And like right now, people are going through this B&B bust mentality because it's the market has slowed slightly and there's more competition. But man, I'm looking, both of us are looking at these companies that are out there. There's some major companies that are still operating above 70% occupancy across their properties throughout the country, right? And it's like, they all have what we teach, which is the VOS, right? They all have clear vision. They all have clear properties and guest avatars. They all have machine-like operations. And then they have real marketing plans on how to market and sell their properties, right? So yeah, at that time, I think, and we watched it. That was one of the greatest times to be in short-term rentals, right? Was when the world was shut down. It was so weird.
I remember March 14, when Airbnb came out with the announcement of like, oh, all guests can cancel all bookings penalty free. Boom.
Yeah, that was crazy.
It was nuts. Yeah, so going, sketching up on that story. We were in San Diego, 2020. We started a virtual mastermind, and then the market recovered pretty quickly, right? 2021 was actually of 2020, like the second half of that year was actually a pretty good year in a lot of markets because people started driving. That was a big shift in the industry when people started driving. Right, they were looking for places nearby, including me. I remember I was in Barcelona and I literally went on Airbnb and I was like, I can't travel anywhere, so let me stay at an Airbnb nearby where I live, within an hour driving distance, right? And that also, I think there was a shift there too, because when you're staying somewhere really close by, you want something special, you want something unique. I actually stayed at a castle back then.
Yep.
It was actually the same castle that Brian Chesky featured in one of the updates, the update where he announced all the categories. The same castle was in there, and that was crazy because I didn't even know you could rent the castle on Airbnb within 1 hour driving distance from my home. Right, and that's the that shift is also kind of one of the one of the reasons that we started FreeWild, right, is to deliver like unique experiences in nature nearby the larger cities within 1 or 2 hour driving distance.
Right. Yeah, I mean, look, man, there was a lot that shifted back then, right? And we talk about how that was one of the best times to be in short-term rentals, but for a lot of people, it wasn't. For urban markets, it wasn't, right? Like, we had a lot of friends that were in short-term rentals that were at a big scale in cities, and a lot of them closed shop because of it, right? Nobody was really traveling to urban areas, and that's shifting for sure. We're definitely seeing that shift a bit more in the industry. But yeah, man, I think back then when we started Legends X, the idea was like, how do we help these companies build a real foundation to scale, not just focus on how to get more properties, get some furniture, take some photos and list it on Airbnb and boom, you're in business. It's like, how do you build a real company that is scalable, profitable, fun, and is an asset, not a liability, right? And yeah, it was incredible, man. And the one thing as we were going through this, and I'll never forget, shortly after we left that property, we broke our lease and had to, move out of that condo. I bought that truck and went on the road trip with Samantha, and thinking of like, how do we deliver this? How do we really teach people how to do this? And, we were having conversations. We're like, man, this took, years to develop and figure out. It's going to take a long time for people to get this grasp. And I'll never forget Samantha challenging me. And she's like, well, how do you do it faster? How do you help people implement years of learning into a short period? How do you get them fast results? and it took me about a month to come up with the concept of the 90-day program. But after like sitting down with you and us mapping this out, I recognized like, oh, we can get this done fast. We can get people major results, especially the hosts that are, they kind of stumbled into this space. They have a couple of listings. They figured out the whole hosting thing. And most of the students that come to us now, like they always say like, hey, I know the Airbnb 101. I know how to be a host. I've already proven this. I have the reviews. I know how to be a host. Don't teach me any more Airbnb 101. I need to know how to scale a business. I need to know how to grow a real hospitality company here. And that's where we came up with the concept like, oh, let's instead of making this for the masses, let's make this program for the hosts that are serious about building real companies around this, getting themselves out of day to day, and that are willing to be coached and implement what they're taught. So we're like, hey, we're going to take years of training here and condense it to a 90-day program. And then the question was like, how do we as coaches deliver this and hold our students accountable to get actual results? And that's when the fun started, right? For our side of like figuring, because that's an art, right? Like that was an art and a science of like figuring out how do we actually break through people's mindset to actually hold them accountable, implement the stuff that we know that works, and get a result. Mm-hmm. It's been working, man. It's been working. It's crazy.
Yeah, and that kind of leads in some of the results that we want to share. Like, well, we just had 2 people sign up today, so the number just went up by 2. But when we started recording, it was 272 hosts that had signed up for the program, and we still have a 98% success rate. That means like 98% of the people who started the program actually finished it. And that was a big goal for us, because you and I also realized we're like, man, we've bought so many video courses that we haven't never watched. Like you watch a couple, it's do it your own time. You watch a couple, you do a little bit of work, and then something comes up, because in business there's always so much stuff coming up. So then like your mind convinces you that stuff is more important, and you step away from it, and then you don't get a result, right? So I remember that was a big focus of ours, because there's so many things that we can put in this program, right? Mm-hmm. But for people to be able to go through it in 90 days, like we had to really focus on the essentials, right? What's the foundation that every company needs, and then going into the Rising Star Mastermind afterwards, like we have all sorts of different trainings that people can go into, but we got to get people to focus, right? In the 90 days, week by week. This is week 1. Here's what you need to do. All right, great. Week 2, here's what you need to do. Yep. And make sure that they're not distracted with all sorts of other stuff.
Yeah. So, I mean, it literally came down to the fact that we're delivering what a host needs, not what a host wants. Right. So still to this day, we get people coming to us. They're like, all right, yeah, I get that it's a 90-day program, but can you teach me this, this, and this? And it's like, yes, we can. But what you need in your business is a clear direction, a clear vision. Well, I know I'm an Airbnb host. Yes, but we need a clear direction on what we're building and where we're going and why, who we're serving, the whole thing. Then we got to turn that into a machine. Yeah, but just teach me how to get properties. I can teach you how to get 1,000 properties, but if you don't have the VOS in place to support you, you're not going to be able to sustain that growth, right? So it forced us to look at what is needed versus wanted in the program. And it's incredible, man. So yeah, the first 90 days, it's all about like, how do we implement the absolute must into the program? And then after that 90 days, and 90 days goes by so freaking fast, and like the results that we get in 90 days through this is unbelievable. Once we get through that and like the need is there, the basics is there to thrive, then we can go into all the extras and the wants and desires. We can then open that up in a free format inside the Rising Star Mastermind, which has been awesome, because most students that graduate through Legends X, how long do they stay in Rising Stars? Almost a year. with us.
Yeah, on average a year. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's incredible, right? So it's like they already have the foundation. They know how to think through systems. They know how to grow a real foundation hospitality brand because they have the foundation. Now we can step into leadership training. Now we can step into additional marketing training of like how to leverage influencers to book your properties or Facebook ads and like all these extra things that people think that they need now but won't actually impact their business. For example, we had someone yesterday who applied, absolute perfect candidate for the program. He had 10 or 11 listings in the space for a while. He was a professional host. He wanted to scale his business. He said he wanted properties all around the country and his favorite destinations, all this stuff. True definition of a hectic host. Doing everything himself, no time off, sick of the whole thing. And we walked him through the process and he kept going to, but yes, how are you going to teach me how to fill my properties now? I have a booking problem now. I need bookings now. Yes. Well, we're going to teach you through the property abundance plan and the guest rebooking machine. Like we're going to teach you how to fill this, but we need to set up your business now and get you out of the day to day because you're missing the point on how to grow this company correctly, right? He kept asking for bookings now and how do I get more listings now, right? And then we started walking through. I'm like, well, listen, man, like we can teach you Facebook ads. We can teach you how to build a direct booking machine and drive Facebook ads there. But I'll tell you from experience, it takes months and a lot of money and a lot of expertise to scale that thing to make it work, to get an ROI from it. So unless you have tens of thousands of dollars, you have the expertise and the patience to grow this thing, we can talk about that. But what we can do in 90 days by focusing on the VOS will have a larger impact because you can continue to scale and we'll get results faster and get you out your time out so we can figure out where to find the extra cash in your business, right? And just kept going back to the instant gratification. How do I get more bookings? How do I get more listings? And then I'm like, you know what, sir? Unfortunately, you're not the perfect fit for this because we need you in the mindset to grow the business, right? Not just the survival mindset, right? So there's a battle between the mindset of like, how do I make money right now? And how do I get more listings right now? Well, I always ask the question, what would happen to your business if I gave you 10 extra listings today? Would you thrive? Would you be able to get those up on Airbnb and start booking within a week? Or are you going to run around like a chicken with its head cut off, trying to figure out how to onboard and set up all these properties? Most of the time it's the latter. They go crazy trying to onboard these things. So I would say that's the biggest challenge in this space is like, and this is any business that anyone creates, is just having the patience, believing in the product, believing in yourself, believing in the coaches that you invest into and your mentors, just being patient through the process because everything takes time. Everything.
Yep.
And this is why I love our name. Nothing is an overnight success. Overnight success takes a long time to become an overnight success, you know?
No, it's funny because, the people that we talk to who are in the mindset of like, all right, just give me X, Y, Z. I don't need all this other stuff. Are usually, they don't join the program. But sometimes we have somebody who does join the program is still a little bit in that mindset.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like week 2, week 3, and they're like, all right, well, I want this, I want that. And we're like, okay, well, this is going to come later in the program. Like we need to focus on this first. Okay. And then we have to really challenge them to trust our process. But then a lot of the times those students actually at the end of the program come back to us and say like, man, you guys were right. I just didn't know what I didn't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I always love that when that happens.
I love it too, man. And like we just put up on our website for the people who want to hear those stories, go to overnightsuccess.io/X and click on or actually go to overnightsuccess.io/results. We just put up a new page on the website where we're just kind of listing as many success stories as we have through this program. And half of them are in the mindset of like, I thought I wanted this, but I got this and it was worth 10 times worth the investment that I put into this, right? Or I did not expect to get this result out of this program. That is one of the most common things, and we can't fault them too much, right? Because we're, as entrepreneurs, we want results, and we live in a time of history where we have instant gratification for everything, right? You want food, it takes 30 minutes, you press a couple of buttons on your phone, and you have literally any food from around the world at your home in 30 minutes, right? You want entertainment, you start swiping, you turn on Netflix. Like, everything is there immediately. Our brains as entrepreneurs haven't caught up to, like, we're in this natural battle between this world that we're living in now of having instant gratification for most things in our world, to, as an entrepreneur trying to grow a business, realizing that it takes a long time to grab any momentum. Same thing with investing, compound interest. It takes a long, relationships, health, like all the things that actually matter in life take a long time to grow. You have to be patient and diligent and focused and disciplined every single day. And the things that come fast, like crypto and all these other things, you got to be careful with all of that. NFTs, and you're just like, oh, I can get a 20% return in 2 hours. It's like, no, thank you, man. I don't want that. I do not want that. It's a major challenge. So we help combat that with that 90-day thing. It's like, hey, we can give you all this stuff at once, but you're going to get overwhelmed. You're not going to be focused. You're going to be in the same spot spinning your wheels. So over 90 days, we're going to implement nearly 3 years of learning into your business in 90 days. And we're not even going to focus on 90 days. We're only going to focus on this 1 week. Let's focus on this week. Let's get this done. And then let's move into the second week. Right. So it's been a fun journey.
Yeah. I just met up with one of our students, Juan. He's from the Canary Islands in Spain. He started his company in 2009. He joined Legends X in 2021. So his company was already there for 12 years, right? And he was still operating it at that time. It was 80-90% of the work he was doing it himself. And he now hired, he really was an example of a perfect student, where it's just like, all right, I trust you guys. Tell me what to do. Week 1. All right, I do it. And through Legends X and the months after that, he basically hired people to take over most of the operations. So now he works remotely. He cruised around France for a couple months in his van, and then he was like, bro, I'm going to visit you in Panama. And I'm going to go surfing on the beach for 2 months. And I was like, wow, that's awesome, man. So he came down here. We literally sat here on my balcony. And one of the things I asked him was like, because he was saying like, man, I can't thank you enough. Like, I wouldn't be able to go surfing if it wasn't for you guys. And I was like, well, what had the biggest impact? Like, what was the number one thing that helped you the most throughout the program? And then his response was actually somewhat surprising, but on the other hand, also not surprising. He said, yes, the systems were really helpful, all the trainings, the coaching, everything. But he said the biggest thing for me was a mindset shift of like, when I see a task, I don't look at it as a task that just needs to be done anymore. I look at does this need to be done in the first place in the business? Can we simplify it? Can we maybe eliminate this and simplify the business? Or who can do this for me? Who is the person that can do this for me versus just completing the task? And he told me that was the biggest thing for him. Since he made that mindset shift, his business essentially completely changed.
Dude, I love hearing that. I remember having the first conversation with Juan, and where he was at with his business, and how stressful it was. He never had a day off, and the whole thing. And yeah, he was a little hesitant, of course, to join the program because it was a big investment for him. And, he had to really just make that full body decision of, I trust this process. I'm investing into myself. I'm investing into this program. And he was an ideal, student to work with, who just showed up every single day, implemented, of course, brought his questions and concerns, but he implemented every single day. And it's incredible to see where he's at right now, you know? And it's like, I think that's a lot more valuable than just growing a business, is being able to break away from your business and let it operate without it falling apart. That is one of the biggest things. Cause man, I remember when I was growing my short-term rental business, we had a ton of units. And this is when I first started expanding into different states and markets outside of San Diego. Went into Breckenridge, Colorado, and never been in Breckenridge, Colorado. I didn't know that it was up the mountain an hour or so away from Denver. And I didn't know that in the winter, you have to deal with so much snow. I mean, like, more snow than you can ever imagine. And I didn't know any of this stuff of managing those properties. And I took on a ton of units. And I realized at that time, this is where that hectic host stage came from, of like, I never had a night off. I never had a vacation. I remember like it was Thanksgiving and I had my phone. I was dealing with customer service stuff all over the place. Christmas, I had to deal with cleaning the snow and all. I couldn't break away from the business. And it didn't matter how many units I had. I didn't have any fun at all. You know, I didn't enjoy the progress or success of that company because I was tied to my phone the entire time, right? Cleaners quitting, and like Breckenridge is like, as soon as it snows, everyone just goes to the mountain and goes snowboarding and skiing. No one shows up for work, right? So like just running into one issue after another. And I connected that with Juan when I first talked to him on the phone. That's how he was. He just could not disconnect at all. And he was super stressed. So to hear the fact that, you know, was it a year later? He's traveling the world doing his thing and fully disconnected from the business. Like, that's the biggest win, in my opinion. I don't care if he added 100 units, but he was still in the same spot of not being able to disconnect. The fact that he was able to switch his mindset and step away and go surfing and do his thing, like that's the greatest win for sure.
Yeah, I might go surf with him actually, because he's a few hours down the road from me now.
Yeah, you should, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, he's sending me pictures and stuff. I'm like, wow, I'm jealous. All right, so let's talk about what we have coming up in the next few weeks, because one thing that we recognize is, like, you know, kind of reflecting on the last 2 years in Legends X, is how valuable like the stuff is that we're teaching in that program, and we want to share more with the world, right? So we came up with essentially what we're going to do is we're going to do new free trainings every single Wednesday, starting Wednesday next week. You can sign up for these trainings at overnightsuccess.io/training. So we're going to keep that URL the same for every training that we do. So you don't have to go to different URLs and remember all this different stuff. It's always going to be overnightsuccess.io/training. And then this Wednesday, Eric, why don't you announce the training for this Wednesday?
Yeah. So just to kind of give some clarity on this, the last year has been such a incredible year. I mean, we had to literally put the blinders on and focus on, we're building two businesses, right? Overnight Success, which is just growing and thriving like crazy. And then Free Wild, which we bought a boutique hotel, raised money, building a team, launching the brand, the whole thing. Along with this year, you and I focused on building teams. We focused on building, you got married, I got engaged. We focused on our health. Like, we put the blinders on without a doubt, and we shut off the world, social media, our Facebook groups, like all the trainings that we used to do out to the public. We shut that down and focus on our companies. And now we're in a spot where we're able to kind of step back into that. And out of the spirit of being a training company, we want to just kind of connect with the industry more. We want to bring more value. We want to share what we're learning. We want to learn from what you guys are doing in this space and what you're experiencing and how you're overcoming challenges. And so we're inspired now to do quite a bit of training and bring value to this industry. So starting next week, we're going to do a training. I'm going to curse here a little bit, or cuss for my Southern Americans here. But our next training is called the B&B Bust is Bullshit, or the PG version of that is B&B Bust is BS. We're going to walk you guys through the 3 things that you need in your business to thrive in 2023. Okay. We have not only have a unique perspective by coaching so many different companies of all different sizes and seeing what works for them in their business, but also because we're in the process now of raising money and building a team for Free Wild, it's forcing us to study companies at a higher level, bigger companies at a higher level of what's working for them and where they're at, because we plan on raising a lot of money this year. So we're putting perspectives together, we're putting plans together, the whole thing, and it's forcing us to study these companies. And we recognize that the top companies in the space, they're not experiencing this whole B&B bust thing at all. They are freaking thriving right now. And we have students that are freaking thriving right now. And it's all because they have these very unique perspective to their business and approaches to their business. One is mindset. Maybe we should update that to the 4th thing, but one is mindset for sure. We'll give that one away for free. But yeah, we want to share with you guys, and we want to counteract this whole mindset or conversation B&B bust. I truly believe that it's just a marketing ploy, and I also believe that it is not real. It's people that are looking for the easy ride in business. And just like investors, right? Like people, they thrive when the market goes up. And the moment that the market dips a tiny bit or hiccups a tiny bit, everyone pulls their cash out and runs for the hills, right? But the most successful, the most wealthy investors and business people in the world hold in what they do. They believe in what they do. Of course, they adjust. They pivot a tiny bit. But they hold to what they know is true, and they focus on building real companies and investing in people and their brand, right? So we're going to share with you guys this Wednesday. I'm very excited about this because it's just real to what you and I are focused on right now with Free Wild. But the 3 things that you need in your short-term rental business to thrive in 2023. Boom.
Boom. That's it. B&B bust is BS. I love that. There's a lot of B's in there. I like that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
B&B bust is BS. That's what we're going with, people. All right, so you guys can, so we're going to have a standing URL, overnightsuccess.io/training. And then we're going to update that as we go. So every new training that we have, you'll go to that website, you'll register for that. We want to make sure that, we know who's showing up, how many people are there, so we can support everybody as best as possible. So head over to overnightsuccess.io/training, sign up for that. We're not going to be charging for these things. This is what, we just want to go deeper into this with our community. And if you know anybody that should be on that training, pass them the URL, pass them the podcast and all that stuff. So Jasper,
right.
With that said, I got 1 minute.
One last thing.
My next
one last thing.
Meeting.
If you want to be the next Juan, you can. Our next class is actually starting Monday in a week, so about 10 days. So we have a couple spots left in that class. So overnightsuccess.io/x if you want to join our next class of Legends X. We'll jump on a call with you, talk about your business, figure out if it's a good fit, and if it is, you could be the next Juan. You could be surfing on the beach in 2 years, maybe
surfing
in 1 year.
On the beach, baby.
All right. Thanks for listening, everybody. Have a great weekend, and we will be back on Monday with another episode of Get Paid for Your Pad.